Okay, today is Monday, April 10th, 2023. We are at the Elizabeth School District Board of Education Business Session, and I call this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Booth?
Here.
Director Olson?
Here.
Director Powell?
Here.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Madam President, we do need to add 6.7 selection of a treasurer. That was an oversight in the agenda. So once we appoint the two new board members, I would suggest we go ahead and select a treasurer at that point in time. Director Booth, are you comfortable amending here?
Yes, I'll amend the agenda.
I
Okay.
am, yes. Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the modified agenda, adding item 6.7, the appointment of a board treasurer. Roll call, please.
Director Booth? Yes. Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay. The approval of the agenda with the addition of item 6.7, appointment of the treasurer, has been approved. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the board meeting on March 28th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Director Booth? Yes. Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay. The minutes from the board meeting on March 28th, 2023 have been approved. Okay, so next we are moving forward with interviews for our board vacancy positions. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the applicants for their letters of interest. We had a great pool of applicants. It was hard to narrow it down to 4, but we did. So just to notify, let people know that are watching from home, that are streaming, we are going to cut off the streaming during the interview process, just to make it fair for all of the candidates. We are going to have all of the candidates, except for the person who is being interviewed, we're going to have them wait outside, and we will interview in here, and then we will call you in, rotate through in alphabetical order. We'll have the recording of the interviews
Yes.
available. Yes.
The recording will continue,
Yes.
so.
The recording will continue, and that will be posted on the website. So everybody can hear the interviews. It's just the interviews will not be live streamed. Okay, can I have the 4 candidates stand up? Okay, so we have Mike Callahan, William King, Candy Putch, thank you, and Jonathan Waller. And we are going in alphabetical order, so we will start with Mike Callahan, and we will have the other 3 candidates wait in the waiting area. Okay. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing all right, doing all right. Okay.
All right, Mike. Tell us a little about yourself and why you believe you would be a good addition to the school board.
Okay, so I've lived in Elizabeth since 2015. I have 5 children who all attend schools in the Elizabeth School District. 3 of them currently at Running Creek, 1 in the middle school, and 1 at the high school. I come from a accounting and finance background. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting from Regis University. I've been in the tax and accounting industry for going on 20 years this year. December of this year will be 20 years. I have owned my own tax and accounting practice for 16 years. I'm married as well. That's about it. As far as the board goes, I have a significant interest because of my 5 children that are in the district. Some of my concerns are safety and security, things going on in current events, making sure the schools are safe for our children. That's probably my number one focus.
So what areas do you feel Elizabeth School District Board of Education should focus on in the coming year?
I think a big focus should be with academics, increasing test scores. I also think we need to find ways for additional funding to bring in quality teachers. And I would like to see the trades expanded within the district.
Okay, if appointed to the board, you will serve until the next election, which is scheduled for November 7th of this year.
Correct?
Will you intend to seek re-election if you are chosen?
I will.
Okay, good. That was quick and easy.
Yeah.
I got the short answer.
No fair. Okay. All right. I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
Nope, I think that's it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jamie, will you bring the next candidate? William King. I think after they are interviewed, they know the questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's already been interviewed. So.
Hey, William.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do we want me to change this out?
Yeah,
There you
that'd be
go.
good. That'd be great.
Good job.
Yeah, let's move.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, William, tell us a little bit about yourself, and why you believe you would be a good addition to the school board.
Well, I've lived in Elbert County for 18 years now. I grew up in California, in Torrance, which is near Redondo Beach. I'm of the Beach Boy generation. I went into, after I graduated high school, I went into the military, the United States Air Force. I was a mechanic. And then after I finished that, I came back out and started junior college and then became a police officer in Southern California. Served with 2 departments. I served with the Palos Verdes Estates Police Department and with Cal State University Police at Dominguez Hills. I then moved on and worked for Northrop Corporation until I retired, doing high-level security work for them, which dealt with budgeting, planning. I ended up retiring as direct report to the director of the B2 program security operation before as the plane was being developed and started being built. And when I moved here, I taught, substitute taught for a while with the Long Beach Unified School District. And then I moved here and went to work for Raytheon Corporation until I medically retired in 2018. I believe I'd be a good candidate for this because I'm very focused on the development of our young people in the next generation as we come forward, to instill in them the conservative values and the Christian values that our community hold here, along with an understanding of our government and how it works, where your freedom comes from, and the Constitution and what it guarantees the people. These are just a few of the reasons that I believe here. I'm not the smartest person in the room or in the jar, but I am a good marble, and I'm well-rounded, and I roll around well with everybody. So.
Okay. So what areas do you feel the Elizabeth School District Board of Education should focus on in the coming year?
First of all, it's the students. It's always about the kids. We have to focus on and set our policies, procedures, and all of our endeavors to ensuring that they have a quality education, that they're allowed to grow on their own, seek their own development, understanding, that they look at all viewpoints, and they're allowed to comment themselves for their own opinions, not those of other people. They need to develop themselves and develop a voice. So as they leave and whatever they choose to do in their careers, whether it be military, civilian, engineering, whatever, that it's their choice. I'm keenly interested in the school district developing a industrial technology focus for the kids, because not everybody goes to school. Just as all students learn at a different rate, and they all learn in different methods. Some do it hands-on, some can read it and understand it and get right to it. Others struggle a little bit. Look at me. I struggled through school, but I made it, and through hard work. Opportunity is disguised, is missed many times because it's disguised as hard work, and kids like to avoid that. So it's our job to lead them and focus them. Those are just a couple of things that I think I want to see us develop a strong leadership in the board with unity and teamwork that filters down through our new superintendent and down to the teachers and the community. That the community join in and have a voice. I think that's the thing. It's a big chore. It's not an easy task. It's a lot of work.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you are appointed to the school board, you will serve until the next election scheduled for November 7th of this year. Will you intend to seek re-election if you are chosen?
Unless everybody tells me that they hate me. Yes, I would tend to seek re-election.
Okay. All right.
Did you have any questions for us?
No. I think I see a great opportunity. I'm happy with the changes that I'm seeing, and want to become involved, and looking forward to a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Candy.
Yeah.
Bill, you're welcome to stay
Yeah.
if you'd like.
Yeah.
Candy, if you'll just put your name tag up front. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, Candy, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you believe you would be a good addition to the school board.
My name is Candy Pudge, and I believe I'd be a good addition to the school board because I'm passionate passionate about working with kids, and I believe I'd be a good person to help make good decisions for their futures. I have the background and experience and education that I think that would help me to become a good school board member. My dad was in the Air Force, and I moved around a lot as a kid. And my husband was in the Air Force, so I moved around with him. I've lived in Hawaii, California, Florida, many different states, and I've traveled overseas. That's a little bit about me. 28 years ago, we moved to Elizabeth, Colorado. We love living in Elbert County. My daughters both went to Running Creek Elementary and graduated from Elizabeth High School. I've seen the district from a parent's perspective. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management and a Master of Arts in Teaching. I've also gone through the Principal Licensure program at UC Denver. I'm a retired teacher, and I've also been a principal at a small charter school. When we first moved to Colorado, at Elbert County, I started substitute teaching in the Elizabeth School District. And then I became a full-time teacher at Elbert School. I taught 5th grade for 7 years and 3rd grade for 3 years. And while I was at Elbert, I was the student council sponsor and also completed the principal licensure program. I really enjoy impacting students' lives and working with students, and that's why I became a teacher, but I thought I could do more. So that's why I became a principal, that I could make decisions for even more students and be a positive impact. While I was at Elbert completing the principal licensure program, I did a lot of my practicum hours in Elbert, but it's a 4-day school week. So on Mondays, I would come over here to Singing Hills Elementary and complete practicum hours too as a principal. I am familiar with all of the schools in the district. Since I've been retired, I've been a volunteer. Part of that has been working with children. I've worked with Good News Clubs and Sunday school teacher, Royal Family Kids. As an adult, I've volunteered I'm an election judge for the county. I'm on the National Day of Prayer Committee. And I'm also a communications director for a women's group that I belong to. I think that the board, some of the duties of the board include approving curriculum and making sure that the policies align with the resources and the policies of the district, align with the values of the school district. Yeah, I messed that up. And I really believe, because of my background and experience, that I'd be able to look at the curriculum and see if it aligns with the state standards, and also take a look at it and see what's going on in the schools. Are the teachers teaching with the curriculum? Are they using it? Are they taught how to use it? I also think there should be professional development, more professional development. Recently, I sat in on the superintendent interviews, and I was very happy that Mr. Snowberger was chosen as a superintendent. I feel that the district is headed in a positive direction, and I feel like, because of my background, experience, and education, and also because I have a peacemaker personality, I'm a hard worker and a team player, that I'd be an asset to the board.
So, Candy, what areas do you feel the Elizabeth School District, the Board of Education, should focus on in the coming year?
well, two biggies are pay and retention, teacher pay and retention. That's been a problem and a struggle ever since I've lived in the county. There's a couple of things that I can think of that maybe would help with that. One of the big problems is the fact that housing is so expensive. And I think maybe looking at funding for the school district, for the students. I know it comes from taxes, special use like vehicles, registration, and state taxes, but maybe we could increase the mill levy. I know that would take a vote, and that would be a long-term process. That's maybe one way. Grant writing. Also, maybe talking to some of the builders that are coming in and asking if they could provide some housing for the teachers and the staff that are coming into the district, so that they would want to stay and grow roots. Because I think one of the big problems is that that people are not staying. You know, they come out here, they get a few years experience, and then they go into Douglas County or the Metro Denver area and they make a lot more money. How can we keep them in the district and grow roots? Another problem that I see with the county is student achievement. I think that's something that needs to be worked on. I know I touched on this a minute ago, but professional development, I think, is critical. We lay a foundation, we get teachers in, we get them trained, and then they take off again. How can we keep them, and how can we keep them, invested, and keep them up to date? And I think one thing besides teacher development is having curriculums that could be maybe school-wide or district-wide, such as Accelerated Reader, that promotes reading. It's a great program. It's a computer-based program that has points, that gives points to reading books, and kids read a book, and then they test on the book, and then they earn points for the comprehension. And if we could introduce that or something like that school-wide from K through 12, it would be familiar. It's something that could be built on. It's something that could be promoted. And it starts off as extrinsic, because you encourage the students to read by giving them prizes or competition. But then as they get to be better readers, it becomes intrinsic, and that's what we want. We want to increase student achievement, increase reading, and increase performance. So another problem I think to focus on would be planning for growth. The school district is growing, and maybe right now you don't need a new building, but there's already mobiles at the high school. Maybe planning for adding an additional structure or adding on to the school would be important. Maybe planning on looking at where the growth is taking place, and maybe having a plan for where to put the next elementary school would be important. And again, professional development for the teachers, I think, is critical. Those are some of the problems.
Right. If appointed to the school board, you will serve until the next election scheduled for November 7th, 2023. Will you intend to seek re-election if chosen?
Yes.
Great. Did
Thank
you have
you.
any questions for us?
No.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it for now. You can stay in if you want to.
Thank you.
I take it to sit right here?
Yes.
If you want to change the nameplate too.
Okay,
Oh, before we start, do I need to turn it on?
it's on.
Okay, good.
Yep. Okay, Jonathan, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you believe you would be a good addition to the school board.
Absolutely. Married to my wife Claire behind me. We have 5 kids between us. Took a great interest in the kids as I grew up and always supported the school and participated with what school functions I could volunteering. Actually was a coach for soccer with my boys for a good 16 years volunteering. And then I think I'd be a really good fit out here due to the fact that I love this community and I just want to contribute to it and I want to help in any way I can. We have a wonderful atmosphere out here and I'd like to see the kids have the best opportunity ever and just be happy, learning, and safe. And I think I can contribute to that. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm retired law enforcement, and that's why I have so much time on my hands.
Okay. So what areas do you feel the Elizabeth School District Board of Education should focus on in the upcoming year?
Well, obviously, the news is just full of all kinds of things, so everybody in here is aware of what's occurring across the nation. And some of it's quite shocking. We're losing our values, and it's being pushed upon us by what I call progressives. And I think this school district definitely needs a parents' Bill of Rights. I think parents are the number one thing first for the kids. Education is number 2. Parents should have a say-so on what their kids are learning. And things should not be taught to their children without their consensus. I don't believe the government should be controlling that. And I believe strongly in Christian values and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So I believe things out here in this district should be about protecting the children. And I'm very excited about the future. I think that in the works is vocational, and I think that is really key. Not everybody wants to be a college-bound student, and Lord knows we need people with trades. I know I wasn't the biggest fan of college, so I did a lot of trades.
If you are appointed to the board, you will serve until the next election scheduled for November 7th of this year. Will you intend to seek re-election if you are chosen?
I will. And I met with an expert on school board members who asked me, and I said yes. If someone I saw had more ability to contribute to the board than me, would I step down? And I said yes. It's all in the interest of the kids.
Did you have anything you wanted to ask us? Any questions for us?
Not really. Just really looking forward to whoever's chosen to building this district back up the way it needs to be.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Jason, are we back on? Okay. Okay. So at this point, I would suggest that we be allowed to make brief comments on the candidates before we make I mean, unless someone wants to move forward with a motion?
Well, yeah, go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so I did want to take this time to thank the 10 applicants that submitted their letter of intent. I think it's great that we got such a large response from the community. It makes me feel good that so many in our community care about our schools. I think these 4 finalists were all great, and I hope that the 2 that aren't selected will consider joining one of our district committees, because I think really everybody who spoke today, your opinions would be very valued in any of our committees that we have. And I just wanted to say thank you. It was very hard to get to the floor, and
It was.
yeah, and the 4 of you were amazing, all 4 of you. So very much appreciated.
I agree. I'm going to just kind of agree with that. We had an amazing, I didn't expect as many letters of interest as we got, so that was impressive and exciting. But it made our job hard because they were all really good candidates. To narrow it down just to the 4 was very difficult. And out of the 4 of you all, I mean, you all have strengths that would actually be an asset to this board and to this district, and you have made our decision very difficult here tonight. But any one of you is going to be an asset. And so I, again, would reiterate what Heather just said about, I'm excited because, you know, you've heard me talk about the Policy Review Committee, but there are going to be other committees, I believe, that we are planning to have, financial and curriculum, and I don't know if there's others or not, but whatever we have, and you'll be hearing more about those, and please pay attention to announcements and things, because all of you would be a welcome asset to any of those committees, whether you are chosen to the board tonight or not. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a really tough decision.
It is.
Did you want to say something?
You know, I don't think I can add much more to
Well,
what you guys have said. I mean, this is amazing. And even if, I would hope that it doesn't stop here, you know, for anybody that has sent a letter of interest, whether you got an interview or not. I mean, y'all were great, and I really hope that you, even if you don't make it to an appointment on the board, I really hope you take the opportunity to participate. I hope that interest keeps moving forward to participate and help out, because we need you. I mean, it's just that simple. We need you. So.
And I just want to say thank you again. I have been nothing but impressed with this community since joining the team here, and just seeing the level of passion and interest in assuming leadership roles. As Mary mentioned, we need to expand our community voice and the actions of our district. And so opportunities like Financial Advisory Council and our Curriculum Review Committee and our Policy Review Team that we've already started, we need as many community members as we can. You know, it's helpful. It brings strength to our decision making. It brings a variety of points of view. And so I am glad that I'm not voting tonight, or have to chime in, because I do think all 4 of you would be amazing on the board, and I hope that I can count on you to continue to support and advise and meet with me as much as you feel like you can to keep us on the right track. So thank you very much.
and with that, I would like to make a motion, and excuse me because I just got the hiccups. I would like to move that the board appoint Mike Callahan and Jonathan Waller to fill the open positions on the board.
Second.
Okay.
Any
So,
discussion?
any further discussion?
I would like to just,
Okay.
number one, I've got to reiterate again that each one of you, it is so hard. Any 2 of you would be fabulous, and it is really, really difficult. I probably would have picked a couple of different ones, or at least 1 or 2 different ones, but the truth is, as I've said, any one of you, any 2 of you are going to be an absolute wonderful asset. But particularly for Mike, I really feel like you would be a wonderful financial asset to this board to help us. There's financial reviews that we need to do. There's I'm not a finance person, and so to read some of the contracts and different things and to read the budget is like not my forte. And so I think this board needs that expertise. And Jonathan, I think you would be a great asset because of your security background. I know you had security background too, but again, it's just so hard to choose. But those things I think will be really great assets, as several of you mentioned in your interviews. We know this world that we live in right now, and we know that we've got concerns that we have to be on our toes all the time to make sure our kids are safe. And so for those two reasons and for those assets, but I wish we had 2 more positions to fill.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would encourage an I vote on these 2 because any 2 of you are good, and so those 2 are good, just like any other 2 would be. So I would encourage an I vote.
Okay. They're leaving nothing for me to say. It's like they're mind readers. I do agree. I agree with everything that you've said. The finance background is huge. I think that brings a unique experience and perspective to the board. And also the security background. We've got 2 great gentlemen here with security background. We have school administration background. It's hard. It's really hard.
But we've got spots for you.
Yes, yes.
Yes, please.
It doesn't end here, trust me.
And I would also like to say, that Mike is a parent, and I think it's really important that we have, a current parent on the board who's at the schools all the time, and I know that I see him at the school all the time. So, and to have kids at 3 of the schools is impressive. So
Yeah, really, you got them all covered.
yeah. So, anyways, and really hoping that both Bill and Candy would consider greatly to be on a committee, because we really
Absolutely.
have some spots to fill, and it's really important. You both were amazing.
Yes.
So,
It's a definite need. These committees are a definite need. This isn't just a token thing. And I think
Okay.
this will be something kind of new going forward, that we have these committees, that we know that we are reaching out into the community for expertise that isn't on this board. I mean, you can't have every single discipline on this board, unfortunately, but we need y'all, so.
yeah.
Okay,
Welcome.
well, we have the motion. Can I get a roll call? Did we get a second?
Yes.
Okay, second, okay.
Yeah.
Director Booth?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Can I bring Shelley up?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on
So
to
Jonathan and Mike, if you can come forward. Shelley? So we are going to do the oath of office and swear you in. Shelley Scobie is works here in our district office and does everything student data wise. Unless you're getting ready to- Sorry.
No, that's okay.
If you'll go ahead and do one at a time, that'd be great.
Oh, one at a time?
Or you can do them both.
I-
If you want to do them both, that's great.
Get it done, get it seated. We're good. I, raise your right hand. I'll raise my right hand too. Anyway, yeah. I state your name.
I, Jonathan Waller,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office of school director
the duties of the office of the school director
as required by law,
as required by law,
and will support the Constitution of the United States,
and will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
and the laws made pursuant thereto.
and the laws made pursuant thereto.
Wonderful, congratulations.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess so they can go sign some paperwork.
We're gonna need you all to go with Shelley and sign her notary book, and
Okay.
then we'll resume
Take
the
a-
meeting when you're back.
Quick break?
I'm curious, do we have them sign Larry, do you want to turn on his mic?
Oh, yes. Go ahead, press it down until it doesn't show up. Okay, I think he's on.
Okay. It's not red,
Test,
but,
test. Did it work?
Can-
okay.
We're good.
All right. So it is 6:46. We'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. And we are going to move on to agenda item 6.7, which is the appointment of a treasurer. Can I get a motion to appoint a treasurer?
I would like to make a motion to appoint Mike Callahan as treasurer. Seems fitting.
And I'll second it.
Seems fitting.
Quickly, right?
Really quickly.
Very. Seems fitting. Very.
Okay, any discussion?
No,
No?
but do I have a second? Did somebody?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
never mind, John did.
I don't want that position.
Yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so get a roll call, please.
Am I including everyone in the roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
So, Director Booth,
Aye.
Director Olson,
Aye.
Director Powell,
Aye.
Director Waller,
Mueller?
Oh,
Say aye.
sorry, I thought with a W I'd be last.
well, I'm just winging it right now. Director Callahan,
Aye.
Okay, motion to appoint Mike Callahan as treasurer has been approved.
All right.
Next, we will move on to our communications. As you know, the district entered into an agreement with Schneider Electric to analyze our utility use.
And we didn't pay him, so.
Wah, wah.
Sorry.
So we entered into agreement with them to analyze our utility use and explore opportunities to achieve savings. And tonight, we're going to hear from the Schneider representative to talk about the work underway. All right.
This is the other Schneider representative with the lime green, very, very.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right.
Would you like us to?
Sure,
present
that would be
this?
great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Feel free to,
Mind if you pull up an extra
yeah,
chair?
feel free to pull up a
Sure.
chair.
I did the cozy. Well, we saw on the agenda that we have 10 minutes, so I believe we might be coming back for the
Yep.
April 24th study session. So we'll keep tonight very brief,
Great.
just an overview of our progress to the investment grade audit. And then on the 24th, we're more than happy to dig in further if that is preferred.
Yeah, just to be clear to the board, there are some options that will be before you to make some decisions around, we've talked about air conditioning, cooling our classrooms at the elementary level, and so you're going to hear a number of different options, but we felt like tonight might be a little rushed, so we have invited the Schneider team back for the work session when we can have a little more dialogue, so.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also for the, congratulations to the 2 new board members. You're probably
Thanks.
like, what is this? What are we talking about? And that's absolutely fair. So what we'll do is that we'll just briefly reintroduce what we're currently going through, the program that it is. So feel free to kick things off there. Go one more. So why are we here? The large goals that are associated with this investigation is around reducing utility costs. So right now, the district spends around $500,000 a year on your electric, natural gas, and water, as well as high inefficiencies of deferred maintenance across your 4 schools and some other ancillary facilities. So our team is addressing long-term deferred maintenance, so you don't have to go to your taxpayers and ask for dollars that would support these capital upgrades. You could free up dollars and focus on other large priorities and initiatives. And the idea is, at the very end of this initiative, we would implement a long-term capital asset plan where the district could basically prepare for its future, whether that's expansion, whether that's considering a bond or a mill levy override, and be able to free up some existing costs that could be placed into this project. So we wanted to connect this back to some of the strategic goals that the district has initiated before, led by the Board of Education. So a lot of this was in combination with district leadership, and I'd like to just quickly give a quick shout out to Bill Dallas, Rebecca Brooks, Jason Hackett, and a few other team members, Mark Oser as well, that have been crucial to that development for Paige and I, and we're extremely grateful to be working with them. But through that partnership, we're working on towards these 5 goals, which are oriented around, yes, improving efficiencies across the school district, making sure that buildings are run and operated in an efficient way, but also making sure that we're maintaining a strong track record of strong fiscal management through this initiative, which is straight from the district's strategic goals, and forging dynamic partnerships between families, parents, students, teachers, et cetera. And we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. So how our program works, I know I presented this to a few of you a while back, but right now the district is in the sort of the before column where you're spending a certain amount of money each year to fund your facilities and fund your top priorities. We will basically make X, Y, and Z improvements across your district that will create efficiencies. Your energy bill will go down, your operational spend will go down. We guarantee how much money the district will be saving over the next 10, 15, 20 years. If in a given year the district were seeing energy operational savings that our team told you would see, we would write a check to cover the difference. This is a Colorado revised statute that meets this program, so this is something that we've been doing here for several years now. We're a pre-qualified energy services company, partnered with the Colorado Energy Office to complete this work with rural school districts. That's primarily who we work with. And at the end of the day, you will see a lowered amount in your energy bill and operations. And for Elizabeth School District, we're seeing right now somewhere between 20 and 30% in the reduction of those utility costs, which is very significant. So over the last few months, we've been in this final investment grade audit, we're calling it, sort of this final stage of investigating opportunities. What I like to do in this time is, besides the technical side of things, I like understanding from the people that live and breathe inside of these facilities each day, what are the challenges that you see inside of your buildings? Does it have to do with facilities? Are you uncomfortable when there's no cooling in your buildings? Are there other priorities that take precedent? I'd like to hear about some of those. So we took the time to, I call them stakeholder interviews, but speak with different folks throughout the district. This could be students, facility managers, teachers, principals, administration members, talking a little bit about the project, but also making sure that their voices are heard. Do you see an alignment with some of the things that district leadership is considering and investigating? And if so, tell me why. Because I'd like to be able to share your voice and talk through this from the bottom up rather than the top down. So you could see that, let's pick one out here. On the top right there, a teacher from Running Creek Elementary Schools, talking about the lack of cooling inside of that building. The mornings aren't too bad, but by 11 a.m. the classrooms are so hot they're unbearable. Students are sweating, teachers are exhausted. It's by far the most common concern I hear about. Something must be done. That, of course, comes with the top priority of this project, which is adding cooling into that facility specifically. Let's see, what else? We talked to a student over at the high school, bottom right. It's freezing in the lunchroom. It's tough to deal with. It would be great to have the temperature under control across the school. In the summer, it's as hot as can be. In the winter, it's extremely chilly. Different investigations on the HVAC side of things. But at the end of the day, the goals here are to make sure that we're creating awareness of what district leadership is discussing and investigating, but also make sure that those voices are heard. This is one of my favorite parts about this project, and I feel like it directly correlates to project goal number 5 of forging dynamic partnerships. So I want to be able to share that briefly, and we can talk more about that in a few weeks. So we'll go through these fairly quickly for the sake of time, but I walked through 5 different goal categories, starting with efficiency, talking about the district utility cost every single year, and also the potential solution of that reduction, which equates to around $130,000 to $170,000 that can be reduced from that utility budget each year. On the deferred maintenance side, and I'm referring to folks like Mark Oser and Larry Lorimer that work in those buildings every single day and night, hear complaints, hear things that need to be changed. How can we make their lives easier as well as making improvements? So we're talking about creating efficiencies and operational improvements, making sure there's proper training in place when there's new equipment installed. That's all part of this greater program. When there are energy savings and utility cost savings that we have to guarantee, we need to make sure the people that are running those systems know exactly what they're doing. A very important piece, and I know Rebecca in the back would agree with me here, but what can funding be accomplished here? Well, right now, we're about the midterm stage of our investment grade audit. There's an opportunity to reinvest between $3 and $5.5 to $6 million over the next 10, 15, 20 years through this initiative, based on the inefficiencies that we've seen inside of these facilities connecting to those project goals. Personally, my favorite part of this, the student engagement and communication side of things. When we have the ability to work with students and get them involved, we want to understand what are the goals that you have. I've spoken with several teachers over the last several weeks and months about some of the goals that their students have. It might not be higher education. It could be in the trades. It could be in other departments and divisions that they're very interested in. So how can we prepare facilities for the future, if that means expansion, the addition of schools, and getting students involved in some job shadowing opportunities, internships, especially around mechanical and electrical engineering. So this upcoming fall, we're considering piloting something that we're calling Resource Efficiency Week. This initiative is called, you can see in the bottom right, Resource Efficiency Initiative. That's how we've at least coined it. So how can we take a week at the beginning of the school year to bring brand awareness to the project, but also get excitement from students that really want to get involved in potentially a career path that could overlap with this. So that's just one of the examples we're getting there. And lastly, communication, working directly with Jason Hacken on that front, making sure that we are communicating the issues. One of the things that we're talking about is having a separate web page link to talk directly about the project initiative, making sure that the messaging and really the marketing side of things that's meeting the goals that have been set by the Board of Education are being met in this project initiative. So that starts right now in the investment grade audit and will continue through as we get into construction. I'm out of breath. So I'm turning it over to Paige, who's briefly going to walk through a high-level look at the scope of work we're investigating, and then we'll wrap up with sharing sort of a project option stage.
Yeah, thanks, Will. So my name is Paige Bleakley. I'm part of the team here in Colorado for Schneider Electric, and I'm a project development manager, which is a long title that just means I help manage the whole process of engineering, design, cost, and the eventual energy savings that are associated with this project. So I'm going to do a really quick overview of some of the scopes of work that we're looking at. We'll talk more about it in a couple of weeks with you all, but number one, these scopes of work are really in two big categories. Number one is things that drive energy savings and reduce your utility budget, and number two are priorities the district has that you know you need to do in your buildings. So addition of cooling at Running Creek and Singing Hills, those are huge. We're looking at investigating what are the options of adding air conditioning systems at both of those campuses. This is one possible solution, is what they call VRF, which is, we like to use a lot of acronyms in our business, but variable refrigerant flow. It's a type of split system air conditioning system for commercial buildings, and that would address a lot of the challenges of these buildings. So that should be good for cooling, so we're going to continue to develop that. And of course, there's no immediate energy savings by adding air conditioning, but there are some other benefits with upgrading the controls at those buildings and making the systems run better overall.
And one of the things that we heard on that too was that especially at Running Creek and Singing Hills, in the morning, the school doors are open, letting students and faculty in, but of course for safety and security reasons, they close as soon as the school day starts. In those summer months, as well as when there are students and teachers and just folks here over the summer, we need to make sure that when those doors are closed, we're able to maintain that cooling in those schools. So just want to add in that piece there.
Yeah, so no, that's a good point. The automation systems are basically the controls that operate the systems in the building. That's what actually keeps the rooms comfortable. And there's definitely some struggles. Mark Oser has some challenges with the existing systems. A lot of them are original to the buildings and are long overdue for some updates. So part of the project, especially where we do mechanical systems like air conditioning, would be upgrading the control systems as well. And that can provide not only better control and operations of the buildings, but drives a lot of savings as well. So just like at your house, if you turn the air conditioner off when you're gone, on that Saturday night in the winter, you drop the heat down. If you can do that on an automated basis across 400,000 square feet, that adds up to a lot of energy savings. So absolutely, that's kind of what we're talking about there. Okay, LED lighting. So this is a great opportunity across the district at every facility to upgrade all the existing fluorescent lights, which are really now an outdated technology and can be converted to a lot lower wattage LED fixtures or LED tube replacements. And so we would look at doing that. That'll also improve the light level and light quality, especially in gyms, libraries, places like that where you need better light. And then we can also implement occupancy sensors to help control and keep lights from being on when they don't need to be on. Mechanical upgrades, so these are some deferred maintenance issues at especially the high school and middle school. Some pictures of some really, really old rooftop units there that are air conditioners at those sites that are due for upgrade, and some specific challenges for your maintenance team that we can address in the project. Okay. Envelope, building envelope includes doors, windows, roof, insulation, and you can see from some of those pictures it's pretty typical with older school buildings to have a lot of heat loss through wall and roof transitions, places where the insulation was either never installed completely or has degraded over the years. So doing some sealing, some foam insulation, some even simple things like door sweeps, door seals makes a big difference and can save a lot of energy. So that's another measure that we're looking at. Yeah.
Thank you, Paige.
Yeah, sure.
And just sort of rounding all of this off, you hear, these are two scope matrices, basically just lining out the different items that Paige just went through. And what we have in the left column here is the entire scope of work that includes the new air conditioning systems at both elementary schools. Now, as we're investigating the difference between potential pricing and savings associated with it, we want to keep in mind, well, what can savings accomplish? And at the end of the day, we're still finalizing what that is and what that price ends up to be and how savings are associated with it. But we wanted to make sure that we also understood, well, what other needs are out there besides the cooling on the mechanical side. So Paige mentioned a few of them at the middle school and high school. So on the right column there is the same scope of work, but you can see that there are some changes, especially on the mechanical side, depending on where the priorities around the pricing savings end up and what can be accomplished. So a lot of the things that you see on the right side are part of the operations team's top capital projects that are set to be due at some point, but they're near end of life, so something needs to be done on that front as well. At the end of the day, we're not accomplishing everything that needs to be done at this school district in terms of capital projects, but we're making a significant difference there. So in terms of a pricing and savings update, we are currently assessing the scope items with the mechanical work, with both the air conditioning at both elementary schools, as well as at the high school, middle school with some of the additional mechanical work. So you can see there in the pricing update, we do have a wide range on the pricing update, and here's what I will say on this front. Adding in air conditioning at both of those elementary schools is very expensive, and savings will most likely not be able to cover all of that. It covers a significant amount of it, but at the end of the day, we need to make sure that savings are able to cover both. So right now, we're looking at different project scoping items that could potentially get us to an alternative path where we're able to see, potentially one or both of the sites being accomplished, as well as some of the other mechanical work at the high school being prioritized. So right now, we're working with that leadership team in the back to determine which project makes the most sense. And I think on the 24th, maybe we could talk more in detail about those project options. But then you see on the lower pricing side there, that's a scope that's more focused around a savings surplus, scope that's self-funded, and we'll see it in addition in energy and operational savings over time there. So the choice is up to the district at the end of the day, but we do know that we will most likely fall within that ballpark, as well as the below savings update ballpark. Those two numbers there between 125K and 170K are the first year of energy and operational savings the district would see based on the scope of work that is decided. So as of now, that's associated with 20 to 34% of utility cost reduction. Now, how these projects are funded, the primary funding vehicle is a tax-exempt lease purchase agreement, and every single year, if the district were to make an annual financing payment, the energy and operational savings cover that payment in its entirety. That's how lenders recognize this work being done, and they're professionals in understanding this exact kind of program. It's also sponsored by the Colorado Energy Office as well to ensure that there's a state agency supporting the district in that process. So it's not just Schneider Electric and Elizabeth, we have the Energy Office supporting there too. But we're also looking at other possible sources. We've been working with our grant consultant as well as Rebecca and Bill on several grants that are out there from the federal and state government that are going to be able to provide incentive funding as an upfront contribution source to this project. The first one there, for example, is providing as a minimum $5 million to the district, potentially depending on the severity of the scope of work. And we know the cooling needs at both of those elementary schools are very severe. So we're really excited about applying for that one and finalizing that one when it gets submitted next month. Outside of that, we're waiting and expecting additional grants to be released here in 2023 and 2024. So we're keeping our ear to the ground on that front. On April 12th, so Wednesday, we have a financing workshop where our lead finance expert's going to be talking directly with our team, district leadership in the back about that entire process, get them comfortable and understand how that works. And there'll be more to learn that comes from that. This is a tentative timeline as we have moving forward. Man, I'm flying through this. And as we continue, you can see that in the month of May, a lot of progress is made. The release of a financing RFP, the selection of a lender. We would have our final investment grade audit meeting on May 26th, which is our final scope of work, final pricing, and ensuring that really the stars are aligning when it comes to what's necessary and needed. We right now have a board vote date of June 26th for both the construction and financing contract of this project. So we have a little more than 2.5 months to wrap up development. And ideally, we want to kick things off later this summer, most likely with the lighting first, because we're going to see energy and operational savings begin immediately as soon as they're involved. So with that being said, that is all we had. But you can see Paige's shirt matches the slide. That is all we had, and we really appreciate your time. If there are any questions, we're happy to answer them now, but we also want to respect that time. So.
That was a lot of information.
Sorry, I know. I'm so
Be ready for a
sorry.
bunch of questions
We
next
will
time.
get-
Yeah, no, that's very
We will
fair.
get the presentation sent to all of you, so you'll
Okay,
have the
good,
next 2
yes.
weeks to review it in greater detail before we have
That's
a
good.
more
Great.
detailed time to go through it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, nice.
absolutely.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Impressive, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay. So now we are moving into our superintendent report.
Well, thank you. Most importantly, initiatives like this, I want to draw the community's attention to, that we are digging deep into our budget to really determine where are our dollars being used, where have they been prioritized in the past, and what can we do as a community to reprioritize to some of the very things that even our candidates tonight talked about, is our retention and attraction of staff here in Elizabeth. And so that's probably the biggest thing underway, working with Rebecca, our new CFO. She's been on the job a few months ahead of me, so she's a veteran. But we are digging deep into our budget. One of the things that I do want to just bring to the community's attention is that through our investigation of our preschool program, we have determined that we've actually been offsetting some costs in preschool with our K-12 dollars. So dollars that come into the district for our kindergarten through 12th grade students are actually being used to cover some of the cost in preschool. That is leading us to make some adjustments to our preschool fees. Many of you know that the state has shifted preschool out of the Department of Education into the Department of Early Childhood. That department has a new funding structure, and what we have found is that what we are charging for parents who choose to pay for preschool is actually under what we're collecting from the state. So we've been subsidizing preschool in the district, which is something that obviously I think our community expects K-12 dollars to be used for K-12 and preschool dollars to be used for preschool. What that's leading us to is having to consider a change in rates, and that's difficult because many of our families have already committed to preschool for next year. There is good news, though, in that there is still the opportunity for families who wish to apply for state funding, and any 4-year-old is guaranteed a half-day funding by the state. Some families have said they'd rather not apply to the state. They don't want to provide information to the state. We certainly understand that. We have actually, in determining and digging deeper into that, we found that some of the information our parents don't want to provide is not required for their child to actually be funded. They don't have to provide any personal income information to actually receive funding. So in the next several days, our preschool families have chosen the pay option, meaning I don't want any state funding, will receive a letter from me. I will host a meeting for those families who want to understand a little more about why this change is happening. But we will be increasing, unfortunately, for families who want to pay without state income. Again, families who choose to be funded at the state level will have no change in rates, because actually the state funding is actually greater than what our pay or our parent pay funding is. So that will save us about $275,000, which goes a long way when we think about attracting staff and salaries in the district. So we continue to work as a leadership team and just continuing to look at all options to try to determine how to maximize our budgets. One of the things that you may be aware of is that last year the governor passed or signed legislation that requires all schools and child care programs to do a water test for lead. And we had our first release of results this week at Singing Hills Elementary. We had 68 fixtures that were tested. The governor, or the bill, stated that any faucet that had 5 parts per billion of lead were needed to be flagged. Out of 68 fixtures at Singing Hills Elementary, we had 16 tests in excess of 5 parts per billion or more. Want to keep in mind that our federal levels of concern is 15 parts per billion. So we're testing against 5 in the state of Colorado. And our federal government has said 15 parts per billion is a concern. Of course, many people think of Flint, Michigan. Well, Flint, Michigan had 13,200 parts per billion of lead in their water. So I think the largest volume of lead we had in one of our faucets was 50 parts per billion. So significantly below, but still above the federal. So we have shut off all of those water faucets at Singing Hills until we find a plan to remediate. Some of those are sinks side by side, pulling from the same line. One sink tested higher, one sink tested underneath. So we're continuing to resolve, but we're always going to take a cautious approach. And so we've turned off. It's important to note that only one of them was a water fountain. All of them were sink faucets. The water fountain actually is a water fountain that's been turned off because it leaks more often than it doesn't. So just want to make sure the community knows we're taking that very seriously. We were less concerned about this building than our other buildings because some of our other buildings are older and have older piping. So we will be releasing as soon as we receive results. The law requires we release information to the community within 2 days of our receiving them. So I would anticipate over the next few weeks we'll be releasing letters to parents of our other 3 schools with our number of fixtures that were found to be 5 parts per billion or higher. And again, our remediation is to turn off those faucets until we can find a permanent solution. We don't believe that at an elementary school, that posting a sign that says don't drink the water is necessarily going to guarantee they don't. So we decided it was best to go ahead and turn off those. With regard to safety and security, we did have a threat in the community. We had someone arrested who had made a threat against churches and schools in El Paso County. That individual has been arrested. Last week we did at our middle school have a student right in the bathroom that I'm going to shoot up the school. Our team has investigated and actually identified the student and currently working with Elizabeth Police Department on that matter. And working to make sure that we resolve it. I'm really proud of the work that our security team and Bill Dallas and the principal and administration at the middle school did in getting to the bottom of that. Excited to announce that we've hired a new director of human resources, or we will tonight after the board takes action if they choose to do so. John Rogerson has been selected. He is a former co-superintendent in the Colorado Springs School District, a middle school principal, elementary principal in the past. I really see this position more as a director of recruitment and retention. I think the reality is we're not going to fill our positions by posting a job. We need someone to go out and build relationships with new teachers and work with our colleges and really make sure that we're selling our community. I think we have a lot to offer. Yes, we don't always offer the best pay, but there's a lot of things about Elizabeth that are attractive to teachers. And so that will be an important job, and we're excited to have John joining us. We also are in the process of working to hire a director of special programs. Tammy Kruger has accepted a job in another district closer to home. She lives in Colorado Springs, so she's been driving here for several years, and we're happy for her that she was able to find a job closer to home, but sad for us because Tammy's done an amazing job in the district. That's a position we're still working with candidates to try to select a candidate. And I'm really excited that Jamie Glazberg, who's in the back, Jamie has been pitching in as our interim board clerk. Jamie was our board clerk several years ago with our prior superintendent, and Jamie has agreed to return to the position. So we're really excited to have Jamie as our board clerk and executive assistant to the superintendent. So welcome, Jamie. And lastly, I just want to say to our new board members, I look forward to working with you. Certainly would love to schedule time in the near future to meet with you and hear your thoughts and ideas and what keeps you up at night. And really appreciate your joining our team. So with that, I think, Madam President, that's it.
Okay. Next on our agenda is public comments. Public comment, we have the opportunity, it gives the community, parents, the opportunity to present comments or pose questions to the board for consideration or follow-up. We do ask that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes just to help keep the meeting focused. And again, should that not suffice, please know that we do have the opportunity, you will have the opportunity for follow-up. So do we have anybody that wants to, nobody? Okay, wow, okay. All right. Next up, we have our consent agenda. And so it's kind of an interesting situation tonight because we have two new board members. Normally on a consent agenda, you just motion to approve the items on the consent without discussion. But tonight, we're going to do it a little bit different. So we're going to allow discussion. So first, can I get a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Okay.
So
Discussion.
typically, board members, you would receive a link to all of the supporting materials for these. So new hires, rehires, you would receive that in advance. And so that way, if you have questions, if you think, wow, why is this person leaving, or why'd you choose that person, we'd have the ability of talking about it in advance. So unfortunately, the two of you didn't get that opportunity tonight. Transfers and changes, so where we have an employee that might be moving a position, like you'll probably see Jamie on that. Jamie will be moving from one position to another, or a teacher transferring from one building to the other. You would receive that information. Any employee who resigns, we post a list so community sees who's resigned from their positions. You also would receive their letters of resignation. That's something the board has asked to see, so we provide you those in writing. So if they have state a reason, or they say something that you feel like is important, you'll be able to read that as well. Extra duty pay, so any of our coaches, any of our extracurricular sponsors are paid, so those come to you for approval before those payments are made. So you'll receive a list of all of those. Might be our soccer coach or a wrestling coach or assistant coaches that would be on that list. Substitutes as well. If we're hiring new substitutes into the district, you'll see them being appointed into those roles. You also receive our monthly financials, so that's probably something you'll want to look at, is just really monitoring. Normally, we do have Rebecca make a brief presentation, but because of the length of our interviews and all tonight, we set that aside for tonight, but we may obviously bring that back so that Rebecca can go over those in greater detail, but you do have those on your consent agenda as well. And then we have 4 policies out of, I believe, 6 that we reviewed at the last board meeting. During that board meeting, we had agreed on some changes. There were 2 policies that still had questions, and so instead of putting them on the consent, we'll bring those back at our next work session so that we can make sure we wordsmith and get the language exactly as the board would like. These 4 policies, after our 3 board members who were part of that discussion reviewed, felt like that it was exactly what they wanted, and so therefore they're on here for formal approval. And those policies are our board agenda, the naming of facilities, the bully prevention and education, and the students' records release of information of students. So there are some modifications. You will see in the board drive, which you'll have access to obviously for future board meetings, you'll be able to see the red line version of what's changing from what was already there. So those are the items on our consent agenda tonight. Typically, board members are expected to vote, and talking with our attorney, certainly, if you would rather abstain, you certainly can. So when we do a roll call, if you feel like, okay, I just don't know enough about what's on here, you certainly have a right to abstain if you choose.
Okay. So we had a motion to approve, and we had a second, so let's go ahead and do a roll call.
Director Booth?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Director Waller?
Aye.
Director Callahan?
Okay. Motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented was approved. Now we're going to move on to action items. Can I get a motion to approve the changes to policy GDD as presented? GDD is vacations and holidays.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
Just to explain, We have been struggling to recruit in all areas, both our 12-month employees, our teachers. This is some low-hanging fruit that I asked our board to consider. We have been looking at how we compare to neighboring districts. So any of our 12-month staff, our custodians, our maintenance staff, any of our bus, our transportation staff that work year-round, our vacation policy is very minimal. So when someone starts, they earn a certain amount. They earn up to 10 days of vacation, and they're working year-round. Most of our surrounding districts grant 20 for a 12-month employee. So we want our employees to take care of themselves. I've told our employees, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be at your peak to take care of our kids. And so this is some low-hanging fruit that we believe will really help us in addressing some of our recruitment areas. A custodian that we hire tomorrow now would receive 20 days vacation during the year that would allow them to have some time off, to recharge, to be at their best. And so the red line version of this shows that any employee up to 20 years receives 20 days of vacation. Employees that are 21 years or more receive 25. So we're trying to incentivize the long-term employees. It states the vacation or the holidays that we recognize. So we recognize most of the federal holidays. I think there are 3 federal holidays we don't. We do allow some floating holidays that an employee could choose. For instance, if they're a veteran and Veterans Day is important to them. Most school districts have not given Veterans Day off because they'd rather students in school to learn about the sacrifices of our veterans. But for a veteran, they may choose to take off Veterans Day, so they have that floating holiday that they can take that off. So I believe this will go a long way in providing an incentive that doesn't cost us anything. It does also state that there can be rules about not all custodians taking off the first week of summer. Obviously, it's going to require that we have some procedures so that we can make sure we have the staff necessary to carry out the work that we need to do. So with that, I'd ask your support of this, I call it low-hanging fruit, to give us some recruitment help.
I think it's brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Booth? Aye. Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Director Waller?
Aye.
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Okay, the motion to approve changes to GDD vacations and holidays has been approved. Next up, we've got our Board of Education planning. So our next board meeting is going to be April 24th. It's going to be our working session, and it's going to be here in the boardroom at 6 p.m. And future board meeting dates. You want to talk about that?
I wanted to bring that up. So currently, our board meetings are our business meetings are the second Monday of the month. Our working sessions are the fourth Monday of the month. We have not met in July, so I wanted to bring that forward. We will bring proposed meeting dates for next year to you, but I also didn't want to assume that a relatively new board was okay with not meeting in July. So I wanted to make sure that that was still the wishes of the board, so that if there are changes that you wish to make, that we can make those. And again, we'll look at our schedule for next year at the next meeting. But
Well, to be honest, right now, it never made sense to me to take July off, at least to have one meeting, because July is when you're ramping up and getting ready for the fall semester. So I'm on board with having one meeting in July.
okay.
I think that makes sense. I mean, it seems like, summer you should be able to lay back, but like you said, I mean, the next month, kids are gonna be in school, so.
And just so you guys know too, you can always, like, let's say you have vacation plans, you can always dial in or, which I've had to do, and I'd
I've
have to do
witnessed
in
that
June.
Yeah.
in the past.
Yeah.
Streaming comes in handy.
Yes, it does.
And we can look at the date. We don't have to go with our set schedule, so
Yeah.
we could schedule it towards the end or the beginning, depending on what works best for the board members. But just wanted to make sure we didn't just move forward with the assumption that what was planned is what we want to continue with. So, so it sounds like we have some interest in a meeting in July, and we'll discuss the date at the next meeting. Sounds great.
I have
So bring
just-
your July calendars.
There we go. I have just one weird comment, and this is just strange to me, but it seems backwards to me. It seems like our first meeting should be a working session, and the second one of the month should be a business session, to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we come up with stuff, it just, for my own head, to keep it straighter. I mean, it doesn't matter, I don't care, it's not like I'm a sword to die on or anything, but it just seems funny to me.
Yeah. I will say that pattern is a pattern I'm more used to, is working session and then business
Yeah,
meeting.
and
So
then the
you're
first one
always
of the month and then
preparing.
the second one, yeah. So, anyway, just a thought.
We could always flip that starting next year.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we will bring back some proposed schedules for next year, and then look at our calendars at our work session for a date in July, and then formally add that to our calendar.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So, next, we are going to go into executive session. So, I am going to make a motion. I'm going to move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of seeking legal advice as authorized by Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402 for D.
B. B is a
B.
boy.
B, okay. So that's Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402 for B as in boy. And those present in the executive session shall be members of the Board of Education, the superintendent, the board clerk, and our attorney Brad Miller. And please note, no action is expected to be taken following this executive session. It's an opportunity for us to get legal advice now that we have the full board seated.
Is there a
Okay.
second?
A second.
Can I get a roll call?
Director Booth?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Director Waller?
Aye.
Director Callahan?
Aye.
So when we go to meet in executive session, we'll just be coming out and adjourning. So there will be nothing else, in case that wasn't made obvious.
You're welcome to stay.
Welcome to stay,
But
but
it's
there will
not
be
gonna,
nothing.
it's very sort of anticlimactic when you get out. Like, eh.
No one stayed for us?
What? Candy? Did you, candy?
Thank you.
Lifesavers.
Yeah.
Do we need it back on?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm on.
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
All right. We are out of executive session, and it is 8:03 PM, and I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Do we need a roll call? Don't think so.
I don't think so. Meeting adjourned.
Well, you just did your first board meeting.
Did we